She spilled soup on a customer, and it was a famous actor looking for a wife. One clumsy moment, one spilled bowl of soup, one life changed forever. What happens when the worst day of your working life becomes the beginning of something extraordinary? When embarrassment turns into destiny? This is the story of Maya Chen, a 24-year-old waitress who thought her world was ending when she accidentally poured hot tomato soup all over a customer's expensive suit. She had no idea she was looking at one of Hollywood's most eligible bachelors. December 15th, 2019. A small Italian restaurant in Beverly Hills. The lunch rush was brutal. Maya had been working double shifts for 3 weeks straight, trying to save money for her mother's medical bills. Her hands were shaking from exhaustion. Her mind was elsewhere. Table 12 ordered the special. Tomato basil soup with garlic. Bread, simple enough. But as Maya approached the table, her tired legs gave way slightly. The tray tilted. Time seemed to slow down. The soup flew through the air like liquid fire. The man at table 12 didn't scream. He didn't curse. He just sat there, perfectly still, as the red liquid dripped from his dark hair onto what looked like $1,000 suit. Maya's heart stopped. This wasn't just any customer. This was Alexander Reed. You might not know his name, but you've seen his face. 3 blockbuster movies, 2 Emmy nominations, a fortune estimated at $50 million. And at 32 years old, he was Hollywood's most sought-after bachelor. Maya's first instinct was to run. Her second was to apologize, until her voice gave out. But Alexander Reed did something unexpected. He smiled, not a polite smile, not a fake Hollywood smile. A real one. The restaurant fell silent. Other customers turned to stare. The manager rushed over, ready to fire Maya on the spot. But Alexander raised his hand, stopping everyone in their tracks. "It's fine," he said quietly. "Accidents happen." Maya grabbed napkins, her hands trembling as she tried to clean the mess she'd made. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I'll pay for the dry cleaning. I'll replace the suit. What's your name?" Alexander interrupted. "Maya," she stammered. "Maya." He tested the name on his tongue. "Are you okay? You look exhausted." This wasn't how famous people were supposed to act. Maya had served celebrities before. They usually treated service workers like furniture. Invisible. Disposable. But Alexander Reed was different. He wasn't angry. He was concerned. About her. The manager appeared, face red with fury. "I am so sorry, Mr. Reed. She's fired immediately. We'll comp your entire meal and—" "No." Alexander's voice was firm. "She stays, and I'll pay for my meal." Maya stared at him in disbelief. Rich people didn't protect waitresses. They destroyed them. They complained to managers. They left bad reviews. They got people fired for sport. But Alexander Reed had just saved her job. As Maya brought him a towel and a fresh napkin, she noticed something else. Alexander was alone. A famous actor eating lunch by himself at a small restaurant. No entourage, no bodyguards, no date. "Why aren't you angry?" Maya asked before she could stop herself. Alexander looked up at her, and for a moment, she saw something unexpected in his eyes. Loneliness. "Because," he said softly, "it's the most genuine interaction I've had in months." Maya didn't understand what he meant. Not yet. She had no idea that Alexander Reed, despite his fame and fortune, was desperately lonely. That he'd been searching for something real in a world full of fake smiles and hidden agendas. She had no idea that spilling soup on him was exactly what he needed. As Maya walked away, Alexander watched her. Really watched her. The way she moved. With quiet grace despite her exhaustion. The way she genuinely cared about making things right. The way she looked at him like he was just a person, not a commodity. For the first time in years, Alexander Reed felt something he'd almost forgotten existed. Hope. But Maya's story was just beginning. And what happened next would change both their lives in ways neither could imagine, because sometimes the universe has a twisted sense of humor, and sometimes disaster is just destiny wearing a disguise. 3 days passed. Maya thought she'd never see Alexander Reed again. She was wrong. Tuesday morning, 7 a.m. The restaurant was almost empty. Maya was setting up tables when she heard the door chime. She looked up and froze. Alexander Reed stood in the doorway, wearing jeans and a simple black t-shirt. No designer suit this time, no soup stains either. He looked normal, almost vulnerable. Maya's heart started racing. Why was he back? Did he change his mind about pressing charges? Was he here to get her fired after all? Alexander walked straight to table 12, the same table. He sat down and waited. Maya approached slowly, notepad trembling in her hands. Can I help you? Coffee, he said simply. And whatever you recommend. This made no sense. Hollywood actors didn't eat at the same small restaurant twice in 1 week. They definitely didn't sit alone at 7 a.m. ordering coffee from waitresses who'd ruined their clothes. As Maya poured his coffee, Alexander spoke quietly. I've been thinking about what you asked me, why I wasn't angry. Maya nearly dropped the coffee pot. He remembered their conversation. Word for word. The truth is, Alexander continued, I can't remember the last time someone looked at me and saw a person instead of a bank account. Maya set the coffee down carefully. I don't understand. Alexander's laugh was bitter. Do you know what my life looks like? Meetings with people who want my money. Dates with women who want my fame. Friendships that exist only because of what I can do for others. He took a sip of coffee and grimaced. This is terrible coffee, by the way. Despite everything, Maya smiled. I know. The machine is ancient. But you're still here, Alexander observed. Still working, still trying. Maya shrugged. Bills don't pay themselves. Something shifted in Alexander's expression. Recognition, maybe. Or respect. Over the next hour, Alexander told Maya things he'd never told anyone, about the loneliness that came with fame, about how success had built walls around him that seemed impossible to break down, about how he'd started eating at small restaurants just to feel normal again. Maya listened, really listened. She didn't ask for autographs or selfies. She didn't mention his movies or his wealth. She just cared. When Alexander finally left, he did something that shocked Maya to her core. He left a $500 tip. But that wasn't the shocking part. The shocking part was the note written on the receipt. Thank you for seeing me. Amaya stared at the note for 10 minutes. She'd served hundreds of customers, but none had ever thanked her for seeing them. What did that even mean? She was about to find out that Alexander Reed's problems ran much deeper than loneliness. The sigh. Next morning, Maya arrived at work to find 2 men in expensive suits waiting for her. They weren't customers. They were lawyers. Miss Chen, the first one said, we represent Alexander Reed. We need to discuss your recent interactions with our client. Maya's blood turned to ice. This was it. The lawsuit. The end of her life as she knew it. But the lawyers didn't threaten her. Instead, they offered her something impossible, a contract. Mr. Reed has a proposition, the second lawyer explained. He needs someone to accompany him to public events. Someone genuine, someone real, someone who isn't interested in his fame or fortune. Maya laughed. It was either that or cry. You want me to be his fake girlfriend? Not fake, the first lawyer corrected. Authentic. Mr. Reed believes you could help him navigate social situations in a way that feels honest. The offer was insane. $20,000 a month just to attend parties and premieres with Alexander Reed. All she had to do was be herself. Maya almost said no immediately. She wasn't actress material. She didn't belong in Alexander's world. She was a Waitress from a broken family who could barely make rent. But then she thought about her mother's medical bills. Her student loans, her dreams of going back to school. $20,000 a month would change everything. "There's one condition," Maya said finally. "I keep my job here. I won't pretend to be someone I'm not." The lawyers exchanged glances. They'd clearly expected her to quit immediately and dive headfirst into luxury. "Mr. Reed anticipated you might say that," one of them replied. "He finds your integrity refreshing." Maya signed the contract that afternoon. She had no idea she was signing up for something far more complicated than fake dates and red carpets. She had no idea that Alexander Reed wasn't just looking for a companion. He was looking for a wife, and he'd already decided that Maya Chen, the waitress who spilled soup on him, was exactly what he'd been searching for his entire life. But Alexander had enemies. People who profited from his loneliness. People who controlled his image, his career, his very identity. People who would do anything to make sure Maya Chen disappeared from his life permanently. The contract Maya signed wasn't just a job offer. It was a declaration of war, and Maya had no idea what she'd just walked into. Maya's first red carpet event was supposed to be magical. Instead, it became a nightmare she'll never forget. The Golden Globe Awards, January 2020. Maya stood beside Alexander in a borrowed designer dress, cameras flashing like lightning strikes. She felt like an imposter in a world of perfect people. But something was wrong. Terribly wrong. Alexander's publicist, Victoria Sterling, watched Maya like a hawk circling prey. Every smile felt calculated. Every introduction sounded like a threat wrapped in politeness. "So you're the little waitress," Victoria whispered when Alexander stepped away. "How quaint." Maya tried to ignore the venom in her voice. But Victoria wasn't finished. "You know this won't last, right? Alexander gets bored easily. And when he does, you'll go back to serving soup to nobodies." Maya wanted to run. But then Alexander returned, placing his hand gently on her back. The simple gesture made her feel safe again. What Maya didn't know was that Victoria Sterling had been planning Alexander's life for 8 years, including who he would marry. Her name was Scarlett Winters, another actress, beautiful, ambitious, and completely under Victoria's control. The perfect match for Alexander's image. Victoria had orchestrated their relationship carefully. Romantic dinners leaked to paparazzi, staged photos of stolen kisses, a fairy tale romance that existed only for the cameras. There was just one problem. Alexander hated every second of it. He'd ended things with Scarlett 6 months ago, much to Victoria's fury. That's when he started eating alone at small restaurants. That's when he met Maya. And Victoria Sterling would rather see Alexander miserable than lose control of his life. The night of the awards, Victoria made her move. Maya was in the bathroom when she overheard a phone conversation that chilled her. "Blood. The photos are ready," Victoria was saying. "Make sure they look authentic. I want her destroyed by morning." Maya pressed herself against the stall door, heart pounding. "No, not Alexander," Victoria continued. "He can't know we're behind this. Make it look like investigative journalism. Dig up everything on Maya Chen, her family's financial problems, her father's gambling debts, her mother's immigration status." Maya's world tilted. They were going to destroy her family to get rid of her. But Victoria wasn't done. "And if that doesn't work, we move to phase 2. The accident should look completely natural. Car crashes happen all the time in Los Angeles." Maya covered her mouth to stifle a gasp. Victoria Sterling wasn't just trying to ruin her reputation. She was planning to have Maya killed. Maya stumbled out of the bathroom, mind racing. She had to tell Alexander. But how could she prove any of it? Who would believe a waitress over Hollywood's most powerful publicist? She found Alexander in the lobby, laughing at something his agent was saying. He looked so happy, so free. How could she destroy that with paranoid accusations? "Ready to go?" Alexander asked, offering his arm. Maya nodded, but her hands were shaking. During the car ride home, Alexander noticed her silence. "What's wrong?" he asked gently. Maya almost told him everything. Almost. But then she remembered Victoria's threat about her mother's immigration status. If Maya spoke up and couldn't prove anything, Victoria would destroy her family out of spite. "Nothing," Maya lied. "Just tired." Alexander didn't believe her, but he didn't push. That was one of the things Maya was learning to love about him. He gave her space to be herself. The next morning, Maya's world exploded. Photos appeared on every gossip website. Maya entering a pawn shop. Maya at a payday loan office. Maya crying outside a hospital. The headlines were brutal. Alexander Reed's gold digger girlfriend exposed. From soup spills to sugar daddy, the truth about Maya Chen. The photos were real, but the context was twisted. Maya pawning her grandmother's ring to pay bills became evidence of her greed. Visiting her sick mother became proof she was using Alexander for money. Alexander called Maya immediately. "Don't read the articles," he said. "Don't listen to any of it. I know who you are." But the damage was done. Maya's phone rang constantly with reporters demanding comments. Photographers camped outside her apartment. Her mother cried, afraid they'd be deported. Maya realized Victoria had won without ever getting her hands dirty. That evening, Maya made the hardest decision of her life. She called Alexander and quit. "I can't do this anymore," she said through tears. "I'm sorry. This was a mistake." "Maya, wait," Alexander started, but she'd already hung up. What Maya didn't know was that Alexander had spent the day investigating. He'd traced the photos back to their source. He'd discovered Victoria's plan, and he was furious. That night, Alexander fired Victoria Sterling and her entire team. 8 years of partnership, destroyed in a single phone call. But Victoria Sterling didn't become Hollywood's most feared publicist by accepting defeat gracefully. If she couldn't control Alexander Reed, she would destroy him too. And Maya Chen would be the weapon she used to do it, because Victoria Sterling had one more card to play. A secret so dark, so devastating, that it would shatter everything Alexander and Maya thought they knew about their story. The truth about why Alexander was really at that restaurant the day Maya spilled soup on him. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't fate. It was a setup, and Maya had been the target all along. The truth was darker than Maya could have ever imagined, but it wasn't what Victoria Sterling wanted her to believe. 3 days after Maya quit, Alexander showed up at the restaurant one last time. But he wasn't alone. He brought evidence that would change everything. "Maya," he said, sliding a folder across table 12. "You need to see this." Inside were private investigator reports, phone records, and financial documents. The story they told was chilling. Victoria Sterling had been watching Alexander for months, documenting his every move. She knew about his depression, his loneliness, his desperate search for something real, and she'd found the perfect way to manipulate him. Maya Chen wasn't chosen randomly. Victoria had researched dozens of service workers in Alexander's area. She'd found Maya's story, the sick mother, the financial struggles, the genuine kindness, and decided she was the perfect pawn. But here's where Victoria's plan went wrong. She'd hired Maya to work extra shifts that December day. She'd arranged for Alexander to be there. She'd even sabotaged Maya's schedule to make sure she'd be exhausted and clumsy. Victoria Sterling had orchestrated Maya spilling soup on Alexander Reed, but Victoria made one fatal miscalculation. She thought she could control the outcome. She thought Alexander would feel sorry for Maya, maybe help her financially, then move on. She never expected him to fall in love. "She wanted to create a situation where I'd feel powerful and charitable," Alexander explained. "Instead, I met someone who saw me as human." Maya stared at the documents, hands shaking. So our entire relationship is based on a lie? No, Alexander said firmly. The setup was a lie. But everything that happened after was real. Your kindness was real. The way you listened to me was real. The way I fell in love with you was real. Maya looked up at him, tears in her eyes. You fell in love with me. Alexander reached across the table and took her hands. Maya, I've been trying to tell you for months. I didn't need a companion for events. I needed you. Just you. But Victoria Sterling wasn't finished. At that exact moment, she was executing her final plan. She'd leaked a story to the press claiming Alexander Reed was mentally unstable, that he was stalking an innocent waitress, that Maya had filed for a restraining order out of fear. The story was completely fabricated, but Victoria had forged documents to make it look authentic. By morning, Alexander's career would be over, and Maya would be painted as a victim. Alexander's phone started buzzing with calls from his lawyer, his agent, everyone in his life. The fake story was already going viral. I have to fix this, Alexander said, standing up. Wait, Maya said. I have an idea. Maya had learned something working in service that Victoria Sterling never understood. Sometimes the most powerful weapon isn't money or connections. It's truth, told simply and honestly. Maya grabbed her phone and started a live video. Hi, she said to the camera. My name is Maya Chen. You might know me as the waitress who spilled soup on Alexander Reed. I want to tell you the real story. For 20 minutes, Maya told the truth. All of it. Victoria's manipulation, the staged meeting. The genuine love that grew from deception, the threats, the fabricated stories. She spoke without notes, without preparation, just raw honesty from a woman who had nothing left to lose. The video went viral within hours, not because it was scandalous, but because it was real. People recognized authenticity when they saw it. Victoria Sterling's carefully constructed lies crumbled in the face of Maya's simple truth. By the next morning, Victoria's other clients had fired her. Her agency was under investigation. Her reputation was destroyed. But the real victory wasn't Victoria's downfall. 3 months later, Alexander Reed did something unprecedented in Hollywood. He held a press conference to announce his engagement, not at a fancy hotel or exclusive venue, at the small Italian restaurant where it all began, at table 12. Maya taught me that love isn't about finding someone perfect, Alexander told the assembled reporters. It's about finding someone real. Maya sat beside him, wearing a simple white dress and the engagement ring Alexander had hidden in a bowl of tomato soup. The same soup she'd spilled on him 2 years earlier. Aren't you afraid this is all too fast? A reporter asked. Maya looked at Alexander and smiled. We've been through a war together. When you survive that, you know what you have is worth fighting for. The wedding was small, just family and close friends. Maya wore her grandmother's wedding dress, altered to fit. Alexander wore a simple black suit, not designer, just something that made him happy. They honeymooned at a bed and breakfast in Vermont, far from Hollywood's chaos. No paparazzi, no publicists, no one trying to control their story. Just two people who had found something real in a world full of pretense. Today, Alexander and Maya Reed live quietly in a house overlooking the ocean. Alexander still acts, but he chooses projects that matter to him. Maya finished college and started a nonprofit helping families navigate medical debt. Every anniversary, they return to that little Italian restaurant. They sit at table 12 and order tomato soup. Sometimes Maya pretends to spill it on Alexander, just to make him laugh. Because sometimes the worst moments of our lives are actually the beginning of our greatest blessings. Sometimes spilling soup on a stranger changes everything, and sometimes love finds a way to bloom even in the darkest soil. Maya Chen spilled soup on a customer and accidentally found her soulmate. But it wasn't an accident at all. It was destiny, wearing the mask of disaster. The universe has a twisted sense of humor. But sometimes, just sometimes, the punchline is perfect.